Hello friends, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and this video, my spirit guides wanted me to put this working on YouTube, and I think it's because there's a lot of people out there with back pain, and there may be somebody in particular that needs my help, so I want to show this working. And we're going to show it from start to finish. It's an unorganized working, meaning that I don't have every step written down. You're just going to see me actually doing it. I don't perform these on YouTube anymore. But like I said, my spirit guides wanted me to do it on YouTube, so there's somebody out there that needs this for healing. So you guys are going to get to see me do a working for, I'm guessing, like an hour or two. So, there's lots to this working, but this is like a sample Patreon video for those of you who haven't been able to check them out yet. That's in the description below, as is my Etsy, where you can get crazy doll art and witchcraft workings from me, etc. So just message me at either place if you have questions, but hello to everybody who's here. Thank you for joining. I'm glad that people are here. Because I need your love and support and energy to add into this working as well. And when we're live, we're able to actually all focus our intention at the exact same time. And I love that. So, let's try and move along if we can. Let me say hi to who's here. Hey, Brittany and Debbie, so good to see you guys. Welcome. Alright, where do we start? Let me just start with what I wrote down. You guys have seen this a few times. This is a Brussels sprout stem. If you watch the Brussels sprout video, you'll see them all still on here. And so this is that. I wrote all the parts to it. I wrote, where's the C? A C for the coccyx, which is the tailbone, and it just happened to be cut just like that. The sacrum's right here. Then I have L1 through 5 here, which is your lumbar discs, which is where most of my issue is. And then we have all the thoracic discs, so we have T1 through 12. And then the cervical vertebrae. And the reason we do this is because this looks like a spine, even to where, like, if you've ever seen an anatomy model of a spine, they have some that have these little things sticking out representing the nerves. And my issue is with nerves and like herniated discs. And as I told you guys yesterday, the day before yesterday, I fell down the stairs. What I forgot to tell you about that story is when I fell down the stairs, I started having vaginal bleeding, or my period was induced by the fall, which has never happened to me before. And it's like 9 to 13 days early. So I'm going to be working with menstrual blood in this video. For people who don't want to see that, it's just a precaution. I'll also work with DNA like hair, and maybe more. We'll see. I have most of this working written out, but this is just me doing a little bit of research and then putting all that research together and deciding what I'm going to do on the spot. So I hope you guys enjoy watching that happen. And it's cool because this spine, even though it doesn't have the S shape to it, is about the same size as mine. So this, oh, and I got all the way up, and then on the top I drew a brain, which is really cool, and I wrote the word Atlas, and as much as I could do. But down here at the bottom, this is where your tailbone is, so it's really almost true to size, to be quite honest. If you can see that. Alright. And like I said, I have another one for if somebody wants to do a working just like this that I can do for your back pain. And you would just message me below. Now, if you don't have a big Brussels sprout stem like this, and I'll let you know they are for sale at the store right now, if you don't have one of these, you could certainly use something smaller, but have it still be a poppet. It just won't be life size. Or you can work with like little, this is a mink vertebrae, you can work with vertebrae bones to represent the back. You know, you could put those in a candle, you could put those in an actual like amulet or working and wear the amulet. There's a lot of like change ups you could do for this working. Again, I see that there are 10 of you here. Welcome. This is like a free Patreon video for you guys. And my spirit guides told me this morning to do this working for YouTube because somebody needs to see it. So I honor that absolutely. But it gives you guys an idea of what I'm doing on Patreon as well. So that's in the description below. So I've got this. I've been putting my intention and my focus into this since a day and a half before I fell, which is really interesting. I was carrying a big piece of furniture up the stairs, almost twice my weight, got halfway up the stairs, and then I moved the wrong way and it fell down almost on top of me. I rolled one way, it rolled the other, and then I fell into the drywall. So that was intense. Alright, so I went through Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs this morning and got some ideas. But also, let's just, like, there's no one place to start when I'm doing this because I use so many different elements. Like, I'm going to use bones, I'm going to use fresh herbs, I'm going to use dry herbs, I'm going to use oils, I'm going to grind up some herbs that are healing to cut open the area where I got hurt. I'm going to cut open that area and I'm going to stuff healing herbs on the inside. So where I've written out all the names of the vertebrae, I'm going to go in the back and do a little bit of surgery. We're going to cut a hole out and stuff a bunch of healing herbs inside of there, and then I'm going to bury this. And some of the things I plant inside of here, like beans, which are good for exorcism, they're going to actually grow in the ground. And so that is going to continue to heal my pain because that bean could sprout. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of elements to this working, but so we're cutting and hiding some herbs in the back. We're going to anoint it with either my death oil or my war oil. I haven't decided yet. Steffi Purple Butterfly, welcome. Very nice to see you. Hey, Drowgler, so good to see you. And Lola, thank you, Lola. It's kind of Rock of Love today. That's what I was going for anyway. It's like Alice in Wonderland meets Rock of Love. That's what I was going for. And my eyebrows are blue. Alright, we're also going to work with a little black tea light. We're going to carve some symbols in there. We're going to put the oil, either the death oil or the war oil, onto the candle. Sprinkle some of the herb mixture that we mix up. We're going to do this all right here live. And then also I'm going to add some pins. Good pins to have are like white for healing and purity and just all around that like white light goodness. Red to represent pain. And black to banish the issue. That does not mean that you can't take a yellow or a blue pin and a Sharpie and color it black. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm low on black pins, that's what I use the most. I may have to do. So, remember, if you don't have a big old Brussels sprout stock, you could really get creative. You could use a bean stock because beans are good for exorcism, and it would probably, represent the spine. Right now, our corn, it's time to harvest that and put up our Halloween decorations with the corn and everything. So you could tie together some corn stalks and have that represent the spine. Let them dry out a little bit and then just start writing on the side the vertebrae. You don't have to do all of this. You can do a couple of things or you can do all the things, and you could do even more. But remember, whatever you do and whatever you take from this working I'm going to show you and all the ideas that I give out, make it your own, right? Don't do it exactly like mine. Do something special that's in your heart. Hi Joyce, how are you? So good to see you. Joyce, I'm really loving my bracelet, or I'm wearing it as a bracelet this morning. And the bracelet that Joyce gave me of sandalwood is going to be part of the working. Because in herbalism, this is olive wood. So I could use the magical energy of the olive, okay? This is sandalwood, and sandalwood is good for both healing and exorcism. So I'm working with my dominant hand, and I have sandalwood on there for the healing and the exorcism, and when I lay intent with my hands, that sandalwood vibration will really be there. Hey Dawn and Diary of the Mind, how are you? Nice to see you. Heather Foley, welcome. Alright, so my spirit guides said somebody needs to see this, so we're doing a Patreon video on YouTube, and that's a good idea for everybody to get an idea of what we're doing over there. Again, if you didn't hear it before, when I fell, about 15 minutes after I fell, I got my period. Like, the fall induced my menstrual cycle to come like 9 to 13 days early. This has never happened to me before. So I am going to be using, and I'll give you guys a warning before it comes on camera, but I will be using menstrual blood because it is a part of me, obviously, but it's a part of what happened. And so I want to apply it to this working. So let's just talk really quickly. I think I said everything from here. Let me make sure I did say everything from here. Back pain, when people ask me to light a candle, back pain is like 10 to 25%, 15 to 25% of, can you light a candle for me? I have a back pain issue. And that's another really good reason to share this video with you guys. This is a vegan working as long as you don't use bones. If you use bones, you know, it's not anymore, but it's Halloween time. You could go out there and get a spine cheap after Halloween's over and use them for poppets later on in the year. Just because it's plastic doesn't mean that you couldn't still jive with that vibration. You could stuff the hollow plastic of the spine with healing and exorcism herbs, and you could beat it on the ground when you had pain. I mean, all of these things are fun ideas. Another thing you could do to heighten this working is if you had an x-ray of your back, you could set that out. And especially if you put it in your window looking from where you're working and the window is in like the sunlight or the moonlight and those energies came down through your x-ray and shone through the window onto your working. You know, I like that idea. So let's just get started, shall we? Okay. I don't know where to start, but I'm going to try. I always have the clippers around if I'm going to be doing a poppet working for myself. Or if somebody else is there, because nails are a really easy way to get DNA. I cleaned out my brush. Here's some hair of mine. And then, of course, we talked about the blood. Okay, where do we start? Let's clean the table off and tip the camera down, I think. Okay. I went outside and foraged a couple of things. I foraged these leaves because I thought that they looked really fiery and they would represent the pain. So I would stuff them in the area or pin them to the area where the pain was. Hey Uncle Badger, it's great to see you. This is kind of like a sample Patreon video for everybody. And my spirit guides wanted me to show the back pain working. So I do. Next I clipped some ferns from outside this morning. And I want to say this. The ferns, I think I'll attach to the top with some hemp because hemp is good for healing and it's also good for visions. But I got a fern that is fresh, I got a fern that is halfway dying, and then I got a dead fern. Because my pain is fresh and I would like it to morph to kill it, you know. Again, why we might probably use this death oil to kill the situation, to kill the pain. So I think what I'll do is I will tie these with hemp up to the top, and we're going to bury this whole thing after I put intention to it for a day or two on my altar, you know. How many days till the full moon, you guys? See, you have x-rays. A lot of people have their own x-rays, and you know what, if you haven't been into your chiropractors for years, go get your x-rays. They're just sitting there and they belong to you. Your insurance paid for them. Your chiropractor just doesn't want to let go of you. Just say, I'll be back, but not if you don't give me my x-rays, darn it. Again, you could use any bone to represent bone. It doesn't have to be like a vertebrae bone. If you have a vertebrae bone, it's really going to represent that back, that structure where your pain is. But you could use like a cooked turkey bone or a rib bone. These are what I keep in my bones to grind up to bone dust because they've been cooked and they're brittle and frail. And probably people don't think about using those bones for bone dust, but I do. Okay, so where do we start? Where do we start? Let's start crushing up some herbs. I always want to light a candle at the start of my working though, and I always want to grab my working altar light. Before I do anything, I'm going to put Florida water on my hands. Remember, you guys, Florida water is like a spiritual Purell in a way. It keeps away it keeps away negative spirits, and it keeps positive ones close. The different essential oils that go into making Florida water. So, putting that on before I start my working, and at this point you could decide if there's a deity that you want to work with, you could give an offering to them now, light a candle at their altar and tell them what you're doing and what, the offering is for their help in this. You could ask your spirit guides the same thing and do the same thing. If you work with the Fae, go outside and do a Fae offering, come back in. Lately I've been working with William, so I'm going to go feed William some fresh full moon is tomorrow. Thank you, Missy Moonray. Of course Missy Moonray knows. Perfect. Thanks, lady. So tomorrow's the full moon. So when I do this working on the spine puppet, I'm going to take it out in the full moon tomorrow and just right outside, and it has exorcism herbs in it, right? So I'm going to go and do some exorcism workings with it. And I'll probably bury it tomorrow night too, on the full moon, during these special times, these S-bats. Alright, so there's just so much going on. So I'm going to light my candle. What I have is just a plain black tea light. I may need one more of these because the working's going to go for a while. So I take Florida water and ask that cleanse it from all the energies that may have touched it, all the places it may have been. It is clean and it is now ready to work for me. The next thing I do is I carve a little symbol in there, and I use a toothpick. Let me get it on my supply bucket. I got some fresh apples like 4 weeks ago from the neighbor's tree. So I'm going to give a killer offering to Santa Muerte. She loves apples. Loves them. Alright, so as far as the beans go, you could use like any kind of beans from a mixed soup or white beans for purity, right? But I'm going to use red, well no, I don't want the red pain to grow. You could use red scarlet red runner beans, but I'm going to use white because white is symbolizing no pain, purity, cleansing. And so when this bean goes in the ground and starts to grow, it's going to grow those things, grow the purity in my back, grow that intention. Okay, so I'm going to choose to use white beans. You could even use mung beans, any kind of bean works. I had an idea to use snow water and snowberries to, because pain is hot and red, and snow is cold and blue, right? Or that's how I see it. I thought, I'm going to use snow water and snowberries and anoint the area of pain with that, okay? If you don't have snow water, I sell snowberries. My Etsy shop's down below. I have cinnamon I'm going to be working with. And your magical waters you want to cover up so the light doesn't touch them. Always. That one's precious. It came from Tess in Chicago. Okay, these are the snowberries that you guys saw me forage last year. I'm going to do that little surgery on the poppet and put these in the area where I want there to be no pain. I got some rue. I think it's good for exorcism and healing, if I'm not mistaken. And all the way at the bottom of the bag was that little toothpick I wanted. Oh yeah, I've got cedar down here too. So many things to work with. Alright. Cedar. And I found the toothpick. Okay. So, we'll start by taking this black candle. We already cleansed it with Florida water, right? The black is for banishing. And I'm going to carve 3 symbols in it, okay? I'm going to carve my own personal symbol, and that's where I'm going to drop a drop of my blood. So there's my own personal symbol. And I'm going to carve a star for protection. Okay, and then I'm going to carve a heart for love. You can carve whatever you want. And then, so there's that, right? We've got our symbols, our intent set. Say everything out loud as you're carving. The symbol is just be saying these things out loud. If you want at this point, if you have loads of extra bones, you could add this vertebrae into this candle. If it was a bigger candle, you could just kind of stick it into the side. That way when it burns, the wax gets around this vertebrae and really ignites the healing. But I'm not going to do that because I do have the Brussels sprout tower to represent the spine. Okay. Let's see where we go next. So oil. I have a war oil recipe and how I make it in a demonstration on YouTube. But I'm not going to use the war oil. I'm going to use the death oil. I'm just saying if you have one of those 2 oils and not both, I would pick the death oil, but you could also use the war oil. So I usually give it a good shake, and my death oil does not smell good. So just that being said. There's a big deer jaw in here that I usually stir it with. Mandrake root, chiles, it's poisonous. There's graveyard dirt in there to represent death. There's a lot of dead things in there. And then I'm just going to put a drop of it onto the candle. You don't want to put too much oil because you could flood your candle. So wait till this stops dripping so crazily and then just get 1 drop. And 1 drop is enough. It really is. There's a lot of death in that jar, so I'm not worried about it. As you can see, I have loads of death oil, so if you guys need any, hit me up on Etsy. I can make you a kit to make your own, and you can put it all together yourself, or I can make it for you. Okay, so we've got this going. Probably might need to tip you down soon. Hello to everybody who's here. So now, if you don't want to see blood, don't look, because I'm going to use blood now, okay? So I'm going to take a toothpick, and I'm using this because not only does it link me and my DNA directly to this working, but it's because when I fell, I got my menstrual cycle like 9 to 13 days early. So the fall induced that, and so it's a part of this working, in my opinion. I'll be adding the blood, and I'm just going to dip the toothpick into the blood and then lift it up and drop it on all of my symbols, but I'm not going to let it touch the death oil. And I'm going to put a total of 7 drops. There we go. You really don't need a lot of menstrual blood. It's a really crazy, powerful ingredient. You don't need a ton. But I am going to go feed William, and that's one thing that I feed him. You could feed him regular blood, you could feed him dried blood from like an animal. I sell blood porcine, which is dried animals blood, pig's blood, on my Etsy shop if you want some of that. But magic usually never asks you, and in general should never ask you to hurt yourself. But if you get a cut on accident, catch as much of that as you can, or that little piece of, like, even a Band-Aid. I know it sounds gross, but it ties your DNA to it. Or you could get a napkin and put blood on it and save that in a jar. Men could use semen. So I'm going to go feed William my mandrake root. He's back here in the corner. He's in that glass head right there. I also opened Gertrude, my Rose of Jericho, this morning. I don't normally open her now, but I needed her help. So I'm going to put blood in his candle and on the plant itself. William, I need your help in this work, and my back pain is insane. Where's your help? So, I mean, everybody works with their own ingredients in their own way, and that's definitely not something that everybody enjoys, but there you go. And then I'm going to, again, you can give as many offerings to as many deities, your friends, or past loved ones as you want. This special apple I'm going to leave to Santa Muerte. I like it because it's got loads of leaves. It just kind of like looks like a little picture. I'm going to give this to her now and anoint with that with some of my menstrual blood. Like my symbol, yeah. And she'll know what it means. But as I set that on the altar, and she always has a candle going at her altar, I'll just go ahead and tell her what the working is for and what she's helping me with. So then I'm going to light my black candle. Santa Muerte, I offer you this beautiful apple, which I foraged outside. And I ask for your help in this working for my back pain. Thank you, beautiful woman. You are absolutely gorgeous and divine. And I'm grateful for everything that you've done for me. There we go. That's good. Okay, so now we can start kind of getting this candle lit. I always take light from my working, like my longest lit candle. So we can go ahead and light this candle. As we light it, you're really going to want to set your intention. Your symbols are there, your DNA's there. Okay, and that death oil is on there as well. So 3 symbols, 7 drops of blood, a little bit of oil. We don't want to flood the candle. If the candle gets flooded, which it might, oh, wow, did you see that? That was cool. If the candle gets flooded, then, you know, you can start over. You can use a different candle. You really have to see how you personally feel at the moment that happens. Okay, so next, let's use, and we're done with the oil, and we're done with the blood. So now let's mix up some herbs and then also set aside the things that we're going to actually do the surgery on and carve in and put the herbs in the back, okay? So we'll start a pile for that. And I'm going to Florida water my hands again, just because they feel like they've touched too much. Alright. So, rue is on both sides, healing and exorcism. So I'll put some rue in here. And this is olive wood. Olive is good for health, I do believe. Next, let's put some cinnamon. Now, you can use any type of cinnamon that you fancy, but I would use, I'm trying to get rid of the cinnamon bark, and we're going to be grinding it up anyway. So I say let's use this, but if you want a cinnamon that you can just literally break apart with your hands, I love this Mexican cinnamon just for that, because it literally like can crumble right in your hand like that, yeah? They're great. Nice big cinnamons. If you guys need any of these types of herbs you see me use and you just can't find them yourself at your shops, let me know. I'll get them your way. So let me get this cinnamon in here. Cinnamon has loads and loads and loads of properties and abilities. We just talked about it in the C video, remember? Next, another one that we've got. Now, this one's not going to like break up in here, but I'm still going to muddle it in here because I want the energies to be there mixed in. And this is pine, which I believe was good for exorcism. All the herbs I'm adding are either good for exorcism or healing. And we want to exorcise the pain. And after you add each herb, tell it from your list that you get from this book what its intention is, what it needs to be doing, right? So I'm telling the pine be here to promote healing and exorcise my pain. Cinnamon, be here to promote healing. Rue, be here to exorcise my pain and promote healing. Like I say, cinnamon has 8 jobs, so it doesn't know what to do. Oh, thanks, Dawn. I'm really sorry about that. That was super embarrassing. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so thank you. Now I'm embarrassed. Okay, we'll keep going anyway. So, Cedar is here, and let's just kind of break it up into smaller pieces. I took this cedar from a cedar plank that I got at the shop. It's like the plank that you cook fish on, etc. No, we're all good. We'll just move past it. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. Okay. So I've got some cedar in there, and also I might put a stick of this inside the poppet to just represent structure and that structure of healing, to promote that healing. So we'll put that one to the side as well. I'm going to be putting these snowberries in a direct spot where the pain is. And then these will go in that same spot, the white beans, so that they will grow the healing. What other herbs can we add into here? Where's our list? Hide that snow water from the light. The fern, we're going to tie on the outsides. Oh yeah, so yarrow, allspice. Let me go find yarrow and allspice. that's really good for exorcism is lilac, so I'm just going to add those in here now. And lilac is one that's you're not supposed to keep in the house with you. You should keep it outside somewhere. Alright, some yarrow. Yarrow's, I believe, on both sides, maybe not. Nope, yarrow's good for exorcism. So, yarrow, please help us exorcise this pain. And lilac, help us exorcise this pain. Adding your magical intention and telling every ingredient what to do as you go. The snow water is going to be an anointing factor if I don't forget that it's there on the ground. So I think I've got everything I want in here except for, even though so sandalwood's on the list on both sides, exorcism and healing. I'm wearing a sandalwood bracelet, okay, with a tiger's eye there, but the sandalwood bracelet that I got from Joyce yesterday is here, just the energy is here, yeah? Another thing, if you don't have that type of wood that you can add to a working, you could certainly wear the jewelry. So again, I'm just mixing up this healing and exorcism herb blend with my intention of healing my back pain. You can sit with that for a long time, or you can sit with it a little bit. Like I said, I knew that these weren't going to blend up. If you want to get those actually blended up into a powder, you would need to put them in like a blender, a food processor, or a spice grinder. But anyway, this will be great because we're just stuffing that poppet of my spine. Another thing that we can go ahead and add in is just the energy of my hair. You can muddle that right in, or you can leave it on the side. I would like to get it muddled in with the herbs. And you know, after thinking about it, I am going to add in these snowberries right into the blend there. And they feel light like popcorn almost. See how they dry? So those are called snowberries, really good for making something cold, you know, and my favorite way of killing pain in my back is with ice. It's a lot quicker than snowberries. You are in here to freeze out that pain in my back. Freeze out that pain in my back. And I add my hair to heighten my DNA. So we know where this working has come from, where it's going, etc. Thanks, Heather. I love those little berries. They're great. Another thing that we can add is like apple, allspice, barley. The barley will also grow if it, you know, gets the chance. Bay, cedar. I'm going to tie the hemp and ferns on the outside. I'm going to add these later. These little things that look like fire I foraged outside to represent where my pain's at. Okay, I think we're ready to kind of get going a little bit more than we are. Let's do the surgery. I'll add some apple leaf in there. It's all dry, it just kind of powders up. Apple leaf, please help with this protection. Excuse me, not protection. Apples are always going to protect, but exorcism and healing. Healing. Alright, got everything ready in there to stuff into the puppet. Again, if you missed the beginning of the video, this is almost the exact same size of my spine. The tailbone, sacrum, L4 and 5 is my main problem, but then I have some other problems as well. So we're going to be carving out the back of this, the whole lumbar side, and adding those herbs in, and then binding that shut with the herbs inside with some fresh and dead ferns. The ferns are good for both exorcism and healing, so they're going to promote both of that, the exorcism of the pain, and there's a dead fern in there and a live one, because we want the pain to die, but right now it's alive, so that's representing that. Okay, so you can get a magical knife, you can use whatever you like. I'm going to cut open on the other side from where I can read it, in the back. We're going to do a little funky surgery back here. So I've never cut into one of these before. This knife A isn't very sharp, but we'll make it work. This is quite... You know what we could do? We could carve a hole in the middle and stuff it. That might work easier. Like bamboo. See, we'll try and get as much out and then just stuff it, because that's where all the pain is. Coccyx sacrum all the way up to L1. So we'll get it as deep as possible. That's probably where a lot of people's pain are, but if you have a Dremel tool would have gotten into that, or a sharp knife. I'm really thinking about your intention as you're taking the time to carve. So I'm putting the knife in there, and then I'm just kind of twirling it around the outside so that it kind of carves it away. So I'm going to keep going a little bit more. We've got a little more ways to go. But look, this outside is really woody. You hear how woody that is? So it would be, you would need a Dremel tool if you were going to do the first idea that I had. And just shove it down there and twist. Okay. So, since when I fell and hurt my back, it induced me to have an early menstrual cycle. I'm going to add in a drop of blood. And then I'm going to stuff it with the herb blend that I just mixed up over here, including my hair, to bond the working directly to me, so that it knows who it's working for, right? Since, I don't know, okay, now I'm going to add my mixture. Healing and exorcism. Healing and exorcism. Healing and exorcism. And then it's not going to be easy, but just stuff it the best that you can. And you're not going to, you know, make too much, but if you make too much, you can just bury it with the working. Okay, really focusing your intent as you push these herbs inside, that this working is for healing and exorcism of your pain. You could do this with a big bamboo stick that already had a hole in the middle. You could burn a big giant stick to look like a spine. And when you burn, I think the middle of wood, you can kind of burn a hole in the middle. I've seen that on survival shows. Alright, so herbs, hair, snowberries, lots of stuff. I want to get the bean in there. And I'm going to plant 3 beans and hope that at least one of them will grow. You could sprout the bean first. You have a lot better chance of the beans working if you sprout them first. So I'm going to put 3 beans in there. And then I'm going to put snow water on top of the beans. The snow water represents absolute purity, as well as very cold and cooling for my pain. So that snow water that I got from Tess is a great addition to go with snowberries. You could use one or the other, but now I'm going to, well, I'm saving that for when I do the pins. Okay. Let's get the rest of this in. And the rest of your herbs just put on the table. And all the rest of your working you can just do right on top of those little remnants of herbs, okay? So I'm getting the beans in there, and now I'm going to get some snow water. To get the snow water out, I'm going to actually use what Joyce Jordan got me yesterday, which was those little droppers to get some out. Okay. I knew that these would be a really cool little tool. So I'm going to get just some snow water to put directly in there because I don't want to pour it out of the jar and lose it everywhere. That would be really sad. I really use this water sparingly. Still packed from the move. Okay. It's cold too from being in the camper. I don't want to bring it up to the light, but it's snow water. Oh, I got some on my hands. It's very cold. Alright, I needed this to act like a bowl, so I'm going to put this here and then water those beans and those herbs. And I want this snow water. Please make all of these herbs come to life and exorcise my pain. Beans, grow inside of the earth, and as you grow, form this beautiful white light of purity around my pain. As you touch all of the herbs next to you, let those additionally help in exorcising the issue and healing the pain. Okay. So it's cool because it's staying inside of there, the water. And the beans are now watered. I put a lot of water in there. And I think now I will stuff the ferns inside and bind it with hemp. Like I say, I've never done this working before. I'm just being as creative as I can for a poppet pain working. When I took apart the Brussels sprouts, I was like, yeah. So now we're going to flip it over to the side where it has all the names of the vertebrae, sacrum, coccyx, etc. And I'm going to put red pins. I have 3, and I have 3 sets of leaves. I'm going to pin these leaves that I picked from outside that look like fire with red pins to where my pain is. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do now. These are also teeny tiny thorns on there too. The bush was really thorny. I don't know what it is, but I love it. You don't need to know what it is. If it represents fire to you looking like this, then it does. You could even just burn this a little bit, so now it really represents fire because it's been burned a bit. Okay? However it heightens it for you. So I'm going to pin this to my biggest pain area. Again, if you had an x-ray, you could heighten the working by having that in the window shining down on you when you're working. And I'm saying, my pain is here. See how hard this is? The pin won't even go through it. My pain is here. Please exorcise this pain. Santa Muerte, William. Well, it's in there. But it's going to require some thick pins or just binding it on with hemp. Okay, this marks where my pain needs to be banished. Could put a black one into the fire and say banish this pain, because the black pin is representing banishing and the fire is representing pain. Banish this pain. Banish the pain that lies here. If this, I'm not exactly happy that this didn't work exactly the way I want, but it's not always going to work exactly the way that you want. So you just have to be comfortable with being okay with it, you know? You could take some of these little flecks of herbs and put a couple of little of these herbs like cinnamon into your candle. You just don't want to flood the wick. Alright, next I need to grab my hemp so that I can tie on the ferns to represent the pain existing right now, the live ferns, and the dead fern will represent the pain dying. Or leaving the body. Okay. And the bottom of the ferns is going to hold in all of the goodies. Okay? Hopefully. Let me go get some hemp. Okay, so I have 2 different colors of hemp that would work. I have a black hemp. Black is good for banishing. And then I have just a regular hemp. I'm going to use this regular hemp because I'm going to bury the working. And I kind of need this black hemp for amulets and stuff, so I'll set that aside. But just to know, that would work really well. They make all different colors of hemp. And sand, for that matter. So just get some to kind of work with here. And I haven't done this before, so we're just going to get creative and try to... Yes, exactly, Lola. You can heighten it by using knot magic. Before we even tie this cord to everything, we can tie in some knots with intention. And as we pull the knot through, we're adding our intention. I bind this hemp to promote healing and to banish pain. I add this hemp to promote healing and to exercise my pain. I've never researched knot magic, like in depth, but I just do it how I'm guessing it's done, by pulling your intent into that knot. Ooh, I almost burned it. Exercise my pain and promote healing. Okay, so you can, if you're pro at knot magic, add that in. If you're not a pro, just do it how I did it. So now we're gonna kind of try and let's stuff it in there first. Let's use this dead one to be on the outside, and then let's stuff it with this one. Okay. This is a fern, fresh, that I picked from outside. It can be fresh because we're going to bury this working. When we bury the working, we watered the beans with snow water, so they should grow. That's a very magical water. Okay, so see how we stuffed the herbs in the hole? Now we're going to try and tie it together. I'm going to remove the bottom parts, the bottom stems. Twist them and poke them inside. Ah! Mind your candle, that's for sure. You don't want to catch everything on fire. You've all done it before. Always have water around so that if there was an accident, especially with a bunch of dry herbs, that you could put out the fire. So the pain is now living, just like this fern is living that I'm stuffing inside, but we want it to be dead, like this dead fern around the outside, okay? So I'm going to put as much intent into this as I can until the full moon tomorrow, and then I'm going to plant it on the full moon to manifest this wish. So using knot magic as you go, that was on my list of things to talk about. I'm so glad Lola brought it up, though. I would have forgotten to talk about it. You can heighten this in so many ways. Just use what you have, though. That's really how you're going to add in that folk element to this, is by using what you have. And it's also a very, hoodoo type thing, is to use what you've got. Magic really shouldn't be expensive, Unless you're in the middle of the desert and have no access to any types of plants, it really shouldn't be too expensive. And that's the good news. Okay. So, really tying in our intent, banish this, exercise this pain, and promote healing. What's that? Otis? Exercise pain and promote healing. And you're saying these things out loud. You're asking your deities for help out loud. You're encouraging this working as much as you can. And we end up with what I think is done. And looky here. We've got a lot of elements. If you missed any part of this video, you can back it up and watch. This is a video that normally I keep on Patreon, these types of workings, but my spirit guides told me to share this working because somebody needed it. Somebody needed this help. This is a big Brussels sprout stalk. If you didn't have a Brussels sprout stalk, you can do a similar working with vertebrae, but it wouldn't be vegan at that point. So lots of things in here, you guys. I think it looks beautiful, in my opinion. You've got those fiery leaves that you can see on the outside. I love the way hemp looks, just tied around things, random, we have pins in there, so it's obvious that it's witchcraft. And it's a very visual model of the human spine. with all of the vertebrae. So I really hope that this helped you guys. If there are any ingredients or anything that you saw here that you would like, visit my Etsy shop below and just send me a message and we'll create you a custom listing. Patreon's down below. If you like this video and you would like to see more videos like this, you can join Patreon for as little as $1 to $5 a month, and you get to see all of my videos. So, I guess that's that. I'm going to put it on my altar, and then tomorrow night I'm going to bury it. So, I'll check in with you on part 2 about how the burial went. Perhaps I'll be able to film it outside if it's light enough. But I will check in with you guys. And I just want to say, keep the black candle, the black tea lights, they burn for about, depending on the quality, these burn for almost 2 hours sometimes, but usually about 90 minutes. So just keep your working next to this candle and make sure that the flame stays away from anything that could catch, but just keep it kind of close so that your herbal working is there with the candle the entire time that it burns out, because especially black candles, you want to let the whole process happen from start to finish, from lighting to extinguishing. Okay? Thank you, Becky. I appreciate it. You're terrified of injections. Hi, Cherry Chopstick and Katie Ross. Cherry Chopstick, make sure you go back and watch. This was a really fun working that we did. And thanks for being here. And you know what? I have to say, a true friend tells you when to pull up your pants. So, Dawn, thank you. I appreciate it. These pants are too small. I will know that for next time. Have a beautiful day, you guys. I love you all so much. Please check out the Patreon, and kiss, kiss, ta. We will be back for the letter G in Herbal Alchemy today. Bye, y'all. Kiss, kiss, ta.